How y'all doing today? My name is Ryan, and this is Down to Business Reviews. All October long, we're watching scary films in our movie club, at least as long as I don't chicken out halfway through. This week for Movie Club, we watched Scream, directed by Wes Craven and starring Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, David Arquette, Rose McGowan, and many, many more. In Scream, a community is terrorized by a mysterious killer wearing a ghostly mask, whose motives are unclear, but whose methods are eerily similar to the rules of horror films. I did it. I watched Scream. You should be proud of me. I'm not a scary movie guy. I can count the number of horror films I've seen voluntarily on one hand. Admittedly, it's an area of film that I need to branch out in. I just don't like being scared, or more specifically, I don't like being tricked into being scared. Jump scares are cheating. I'm even okay with being creeped out. I like suspenseful and even darker films, but just straight up horror has never been my thing. If you're curious, probably the scariest movie I've seen is Paranormal Activity. I even saw that in the theater. Feel it on me. Anyways, back to Scream. I actually enjoyed this movie quite a bit. It's a lot different than I was anticipating. I have to admit, I think the statute of limitations has run out on spoiling the ending, so I vaguely recalled knowing who the killer was before the end of the movie, but it had been long enough since I'd heard anything about it that I was actually doubting myself. I'm glad that we were assigned this movie for Movie Club. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Thank you, Movie Club, for expanding my cinematic scope. I can see why this film has become so iconic. 16 years later, people are still dressing up as Ghostface for Halloween. I think maybe the reason the film has become so well loved is because it's a deconstruction of the entire horror genre. It's the original Cabin in the Woods to a degree. It's a horror film that is self-aware, even presenting you with the rules, while still being able to kind of weasel around them and give you some pretty genuine scares. Wes Craven both pokes fun at and pays homage to a lot of horror films of the past 30 years, many of which were his own creation. Okay, let's talk about some likes and gripes. I like that I enjoyed this film a great deal more than I thought I would. For me, I think it's convincing myself to get my foot in the door, and then after the initial scare or two, I actually start to begin enjoying myself. At least so far, anyway. I also liked how everything is just deliciously 90s in this film. This movie should be textbook for anyone who's curious about how people in the 90s looked and behaved. Who knew? Everything from that hair, to Courtney Cox, to Matthew Lillard's tongue, to that hair. I'm so jealous. I also like movies that deconstruct their genre. Scream is a perfect example of deconstruction in film and should be course material for film students. It's self-referential and actually pretty dang funny. It's not your typical horror movie. I also love that there are so many actors. It's like a 90s free-for-all. Of course, you have like Neve Campbell, but then there's also, like Matthew Lillard and Jamie Kennedy and the Fonz and Drew Barrymore and Courtney Cox, who still got it, by the way. I think the best line in the movie comes from Matthew Lillard. "You hit me with the phone, you dick." That brings me to my gripes with this film, which is actually surprisingly short. It's a horror movie that's not really a horror movie, but still, the beginning 10 minutes are kind of scary. I mean, I'm just not a scary movie guy. Some people like that adrenaline rush that comes with being frightened, but I just find it generally unpleasant. There's also one scene that I thought was pushing it maybe a little bit too far in the ridiculous department. It's actually the scene where Wes Craven has his cameo. He's on screen for a split second, but he plays a janitor who is dressed exactly like Freddy Krueger, and the principal even calls him Fred. No, too much, too dumb. Overall, Scream is actually more fun than frightening, and in the end, I actually enjoyed the movie a lot. It was enlightening for the genre, it has a great cast. If you like anything about the 90s, this is required viewing, and if you're a film student, you need to watch Scream. All of that said, Scream gets a B+. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you liked anything that I was rambling on about, please leave a comment down below. Like and subscribe if you really liked it. If you didn't know, I do most of these reviews for SourceFedNERD's Movie Club, which airs every Saturday on their channel. Check it out, sometimes I get featured, sometimes I don't. It's a lot of fun though, and you should join us if you want to. Hopefully I'll be able to stick it out through the entire month of October with all the scary films. I don't know what they have lined up, but if it's anything like Scream, I think I can manage. But if I don't make it all the way through, don't blame me, I'm just not a scary movie guy. That said, thanks again so much for watching, I really appreciate it, and I will see you guys next time. Have a good one.